Okay, who can tell me what they got for the bell ringer? We're asked to find the value of x, as well as the length of segment BC. Parker? Very good. And BC then was, Jada? 29. If you got 20.7, 20.6 repeating, you did the wrong thing. So make sure that you are setting this up. We have a segment AC. B is in the middle, midpoint. Remember, that creates two congruent segments. We mark them. Then they give me that AB is 3x minus 4. And then they give me that AC is 58. So again, you should never be setting these equal to each other because one is half the length, not the whole length. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do this. Some people like to copy that over here. Other people just like to double it. And then of course distribute and solve, and you do get 11. Taking 11 and plugging it back in, you actually could have gotten the length of this just by dividing by 2, right? Had we not been asked for x, but they did ask us what x was, and we found 11. Okay. So make sure you review all that stuff for tomorrow's test. You'll see midpoint, you'll see angle bisector problems with algebra, all of those things. So let's take a look at our homework. Now you're going to see that I have 2 answers for each problem at the top, because depending on if you converted inches to feet or if you converted feet to inches, there's 2 possible answers. You only need one of them. So we should have either 192 square inches or 1 1/3 squared feet. If you have 16, you are wrong. You cannot multiply 4 feet times 4 inches. Length times width. You have to have common units. Okay, so I converted this to be 48 inches, but you also could have converted 4 inches to be 4/12 of a foot, which is 1/3 of a foot. Okay. 22 should have either 162 square inches or 1 1/8 square feet. 23, 8,000 square centimeters or 0.8 square meters. And 25, 120,000 square centimeters or 12 square meters. You may have one on your test tomorrow that asks you to, but you'll need to convert before you plug into the formula. I think if you see one, it'll be feet to inches or feet to yards. But technically you should know all of your conversion for meters and so on from Algebra 1 and your science classes too. 26, same thing, you had different units, so you needed to convert one or the other before you multiply them. You should get 6,000 square feet or 666 2/3 square yards. Below, I only saw a couple of you do this, but in every class there's always a few that find the circumference instead of the area. So make sure you read the directions tomorrow because it will be mixed on your test what I asked for. So area is pi r squared, the formula. So we should have either 1/4 pi or 0.25 pi square meters, 64 pi square feet, and either 1/100th or 0.01 pi square meters. The last 2 also asked for area, so they gave me the diameter in 34. You have to find the radius before you can plug into pi r squared. So the radius divided by 2 is 4.15. Then I squared that and multiplied by 3.14 because it said to the nearest tenth, got 54.1 square meters. And 36 was 452.4 square inches. So just be careful that you are using the right formula and plugging in the appropriate term. Okay. Again, the front should have been easy. If you missed a lot, it was probably for converting, so just make sure you pay attention to your units tomorrow. All right, now the back was significantly harder, especially some of them, so I want to make sure we go over them because there's a very good chance that some of these harder questions will show up on your test tomorrow. Okay. Anyone want to be brave and tell me what they got for 37? Jada?
310.
Good. 310, and that should be square meters. So for this one, the way I did it was I cut it up into a rectangle and 2 squares. But some people, again, also will add like a bar here and do a big rectangle and then subtract a rectangle. Or some people will divide it up like this. Lots of different ways, but you want to cut an irregular shape up into shapes that you know. So if this were 18 and this is 5, that makes this be 13. So I found the area of this big rectangle to be 260, 20 times 13. And then these were 5 by 5 squares, so that's 25 square meters and 25 square meters. And then we just added 260 plus 25 plus 25. Okay. Now the other one, you should notice that there is white space, which white space means that you've taken scissors and you've cut that region out, which means you're subtracting the area. Can someone be brave and tell me what they got for this one? Danielle?
80 inches squared.
Good, 80 square inches. Okay, we want to find the area of the large shape, which would be 96 square inches, 12 times 8. And then you do have to subtract the small square, which would be 4 times 4, which is 16. And that gets me 80. All right, 47 had said the area of an 11 centimeter wide rectangle is 176 square meters. What is the length? So who found the length? Michaela?
16 centimeters.
Very good. Wait, what was your unit? Just centimeters. I thought I heard squared. It should be just centimeters. The area is centimeters squared because we multiplied centimeters times centimeters, which gets us square units inside. Okay, so just regular units. So for this one, if you had any trouble, you can do it algebraically. Here's my area formula. I would plug in 176 for A, and I would leave L as L, and I would plug in 11 for the width, and just divide. Now, many of you will just do that by mental and calculator work, or mental math. That's fine. You don't have to show work for these, but I do like to show them. Now, 48 and 49 are the two that I saw a lot of incorrect answers on. So let's take a look. It says the perimeter of a rectangle is 40 centimeters and the base is 12 centimeters. Okay, so we have a rectangle, the base is 12 centimeters, the perimeter is 40. So we know if this side is 12, that side's also 12. What would the dimensions of each of the other sides have to be? Evelyn? 8. About 75% of you will have 16. Okay, be careful. When you subtract 40 minus 12, you do get 16, but you have to divide it in half. 8 and 8. Also, if you double check and add up 16 plus 16 plus 12 plus 12, you won't get 40. Okay? So then it had said, what is the area? So we multiplied our 12. So the area of a rectangle, again, is our length times width, which is our 8 times 12, which gets us 96. How many of you got that? Very nice. All right, now for the real one, the real tricky one. A square and a rectangle have the same area. The rectangle is 64 centimeters by 81 centimeters. What is the perimeter of the square? Who thinks they have it? I did see a couple correct answers. Michaela? Yes. Quick show of hands who all got that one. Ooh, very nice. Okay, let's go over it though because you may see one similar to that tomorrow. So it says a square and a rectangle have equal area. They give me the dimensions of the rectangle. They are 64 by 81. We don't know the dimensions of the square, but we do know that a square has 4 congruent sides. Okay? Now, if they have the same area, let's go ahead and find the area of that rectangle. So just multiplying 81 times 64, and I'll get that the area of this is 5,184 square centimeters. So they're telling me that they have the same area, which means the area of this square is also 5,184 square centimeters. And then to find out what each side length, remember the area of a square, the formula for that is s squared, or side times side, because they're all the same number. So you would actually need to square root this. Okay, we would plug this in for the area. And again, if you guys did this mentally, that's fine. And we would square root each of those numbers to get that one side is 72 centimeters. And I saw a couple of you with 72 circled. Make sure you answer the final question. It says, what is the perimeter? So you either need to add 72 plus 72 plus 72 plus 72, or you can use the perimeter formula, which is 4 times S. So 4 times 72 will get us our 288. All right, 52. How many tiles do we need to fill the room? Evan?
512 tiles.
Very nice. So, the game plan for this one is you need to find the area, not the perimeter, because you're not putting tiles just around the edge of the room. You're filling the whole room with tiles. Okay, so find the area of the room. And I just left it in feet. Actually, let's go ahead and stop here. I do see inches. You either need to convert this to inches first to get this to match, or I converted the inches to feet, because I know 6 inches is half of a foot. So just to make my numbers smaller, I made this 0.5 feet, 5.5 feet for the tiles. But you could have done inches. You just get significantly bigger numbers, and then when you divide, you get the same answer. Doesn't matter. But you do have to have constant units. So I found the area of the room, which was 8 times 16, which got me 128. Then I found the area of one tile. And again, you don't want to do 6 times 6 because we are looking at feet. So if you were doing that, you would have to first multiply each of these by 12 and then multiply them together. Okay, so the area of one tile in feet would be 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4, or 0.25. And so again, so you have to have matching units, either inches squared and inches squared, or feet squared and feet squared. But you want to do that part first, get them to match. And then you're saying how many of these tiles that are 0.25 square feet do I need to fill the room? So the last step was to divide 128 divided by 0.25, and that got us 512 tiles. Okay. Any other questions on our homework assignment? Okay. Just a little heads up. Chapter 1 test is going to be 70 points tomorrow. Again, as I mentioned, when you walk in the door, I will hand you your test and you will sit down and get started so that everyone has enough time. Many of you will only take 30 minutes, 25 minutes, but you'll have all that time for those of you that need to double check your work. There are 15 matching vocabulary. That's the very first page. 15 matching vocabulary. Know your vocab. Some of you that struggled to finish your quiz last time sat at the vocab section for way too long. Okay? You need to know the vocab so that you can match them quickly. It's not meant to take a lot of time. You have 2 optional reviews that I handed out on Friday. If you only wanted to do one of them, I would suggest the number 2 one. There's optional review number 2. Both of the answer keys are posted with all of my work shown on Google Classroom, and it's at the very top of the page. And then, of course, there's always the videos that are on Google Classroom that you could re-watch if you're having any difficulty with like a certain section. Okay. Are there any questions that you have? Because tomorrow we're not going to take questions on the review worksheets. Were there any questions that you had when you were looking over it over the weekend, or questions in general you had about any of the content from chapter 1 that you wanted to go over? If you do, when you're studying tonight, have a couple questions that you need clarified, you can come in homeroom tomorrow still. But at the beginning of class, we're not going to take any questions. So. Okay then, we are going to play Kahoot.